I hear it all the time. Speak your truth. Even though that this sounds extremely fulfilling and meaningful, very few people actually know that it takes tremendous amount of courage to do so authentically, to be raw and real. Brené Brown is a researcher who has studied the topics of perfectionism, shame, and vulnerability. And I have read all of her books, all of her research, and the topic that fascinates me the most is courage, and how courage is actually the most vulnerable thing that you could possibly practice. When you speak your truth, you are being courageous, but you're also taking tremendous risk and being vulnerable. Brené Brown says that the root of the word courage is cor, the Latin word for heart. In one of its earliest forms, the word courage had a very different definition than it does today. Courage originally meant to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. Over time, this definition has changed, and today, courage is more synonymous with being heroic. Heroics is important, and we certainly need heroes, but I think that we've lost touch with the idea, right? That speaking honestly and openly about who we are, about what we're feeling, and about our experiences, good and bad, is the definition of courage. Heroics is often, about putting our life on the line. Ordinary courage is about putting our vulnerability on the line. And in today's world, that's pretty extraordinary. Out of all of the books that I've read by Brené Brown, this is probably my all-time favorite paragraph. Because, again, it sums up what we're here for, what we came here for, and what we are here to remember, that we are courageous and that it takes tremendous vulnerability to be able to speak your truth, right? Brené Brown also says that courage is one of the gifts of imperfection, so that when you bloom beyond perfectionism, right, you basically access the gifts, which are courage, compassion, and connection. Personally, in my own perfectionism journey and in overcoming it, I've found that additional gifts would be brightness, bravery, and balance. And so these are the gifts that you need, right? To live from a place of worthiness. Do not live from a place of pushing, proving, and pleasing, but from a place of, presence. From a place of progress and purpose. One of the most courageous things that I think that we could possibly do, especially in this world that we live in, is to say, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. Because there's such tremendous pressure on knowing what is right, knowing what is wrong, knowing what direction to go, right? But the most courageous thing is to be able to say, I don't really know. I don't know. I don't know. There are several instances in my own journey as a coach, as an entrepreneur, as an artist, just as a human being in general, as a sunflower and a bloomer, where I have been in positions where I really don't know. I don't know necessarily the next step to take. I don't know how I'm going to handle the uncertainty that I'm in. I don't know how I'm going to face the next challenge that lays ahead of me. But to practice courage is to be willing to say, I don't know, and to still do it, to still follow through, to still show up and let yourself be seen in all your glory and with all your flaws and imperfections. And courage is a habit. It is a habit. You get it, right? You get courage by courageous acts and couraging, right? So when you practice courage, the more courage you actually get or access. Because trust me when I say your courage is accessible at all times. It is within you. And so it just gets activated. Your courage center in your body is actually located in your belly, right? It's located oftentimes in the solar plexus, right? Think of the sun, right? The sunshine, how extremely bright it is. And you have that same brightness within you. And you can access that brightness and shine that brightness only when you have the courage to do so, by speaking up and letting yourself be seen. Now, cultivating courage, compassion, and connection is life work and soul work. It is not to-do list material. It's not something that you can just tick off the list and say, I think that I'm done now. I think that I have practiced courage, and I think that I've, been able to do this, and I don't think that I will ever have to do it again. Well, here's the thing. Whenever you do something new, right? Whenever you do something new, and we do new things all the time, we are being invited, right, to practice courage again and again and again and again and again. And it's really up to you whether you accept this invitation or not. Because it's very easy to just say, you know what? I've practiced courage and I think I'm done now, I would rather, just surrender now and, just be where I am and not, grow beyond these next challenges in my life. Because no matter where you are in life, no matter what you're going through and growing through, there's always going to be new kind of things to face. And you then get that invitation to practice that courage. And it's not a to-do list. It is soul work. It truly is. And so through going through that courage, you actually get to know yourself, the seeds that are sowed and planted within you, even better. And when you do that, you can begin to nourish those and let them take root and rise and bloom. And what's beautiful is this, that every time you choose courage, you create a ripple effect. You make the world a little better and braver by basically showing up, letting yourself be seen, despite feeling vulnerable, and even because you're feeling vulnerable. You are giving others a subconscious permission to do the very same. And this is how we create a braver world, which is exactly what is needed right now and anytime whatsoever. And of course, you can be a source of inspiration on social media, but if you ask me, it starts with being brave in your own life, in your own little circle, right? And expanding it from there. Being brave means to speak up about your thoughts, about your feelings, about your needs, communicating those to those around you. And then beginning slowly but surely to expand it. And through doing so, you attract that which you are, which is you are brave. And you begin to inspire others to be brave too, just by being you. See? Often it can take time to gather the courage to trust, surrender to, and act on the call to be the light, the sunflower and the bloomer that you are, to be what others would call maybe a star seed or something like that. In a grounded and practical way, it takes courage to do so. And if I look on my journey, right? If I look back on that, I recognize how I've always had this little seed in my belly, in my being, where I've known deep, deep, deep down that I'm here to speak up, to let myself be seen, to be heard and understood, but also to be misunderstood, right? Because whenever I have shined my light, I have actually attracted a lot of the opposite too. And what I've found is that as a starseed, as a light worker, as a, sunflower and bloomer and a light, I, with my light, shed a shadow. I cast a shadow. And so with my light, I can activate shadow within others. And that is good because then others get to actually work through that shadow and come closer to their own light. See? So have courage to shine your light because it is so needed right now. There's so much shadow aspects of individuals and the collective in general that needs readjustment. And you get to be part of that by having the courage to speak up, speak your truth. And when it comes to, courage in work and business too, there's this saying that I heard that said, the gap between where you are and where you want to be in your business is the amount of hard conversations you're willing to have. And I think that not just counts for business, but also for relationships in general. How willing are you to step into courage, to activate that courage within you by having tougher conversations, talking about the things that you wish you could have just brushed under the rug? Because you know what? When you embody that courage and you have that hard conversation, that is actually the birthplace for connection. Because you're letting yourself tap into vulnerability. And when you tap into your vulnerability, you're giving others subconscious permission to do the same. And through that vulnerability of taking off the armor, you get to connect on a deeper level. And you get to nurture connections in a different way. You get to expand in different ways, right? I've seen this as a common thread in my own relationships in general. That it's like a wave, In the kind of bottom of the waves, I definitely feel like you would rather want to just retract and contract and just pull back and not talk about the tough stuff, not talk about the things that you really would like to talk about, but you just can't access that courage somehow, right? But when you do actually decide and have commitment to follow through and to speak about it, and then you have that conversation, it's like the tide is rising and it's like the wave of the relationship just grows so much bigger and you're just expanding, both of you. And it's just so beautiful to see how we grow through times like these all the time. You know, the greatest moments of connection for me personally have been whenever I have had the courage to have tougher conversations and where I've let myself be seen, heard, and understood. And it's beautiful because when you speak your truth, you create space. And you might recognize this. Whenever you are holding back something on your heart, your energy contracts. You feel heavier in your energy. Whilst when you speak your truth, when you just let yourself say whatever needs to be said, do what needs to be done, what you feel called to do, then your energy expands. You take root, you rise and bloom. And that is what we're here to do together. And you know, in business, when you begin allowing yourself to go from the known, the familiar, to stepping out into the unfamiliar and doing things differently and having the courage to just be you in your own business, as you grow, that is truly what creates creativity. Creativity, right, is truly the end result of you practicing courage and having courage to be vulnerable again and again and again. As you expand, as you grow, and as you create. So courage is a big part of all areas of life. And it means speaking your truth. It means speaking from your heart. Just like Brené Brown said, you know, the root of the word courage is cor, the Latin word for heart. And courage originally meant to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. So I ask you right now, do you speak your mind by telling all your heart? In what ways are you not? And how can you access that courage right now? What if you actually get courageous by couraging? By choosing and having the commitment to simply speak the truth, regardless of the outcome, detaching from the outcome of whatever response you get, knowing that all you can do is simply speak your truth, and that is the gift in and of itself. It's not the response that you get from it. The act of doing it is more than enough. I invite you to apply to join the Bloom Beyond tribe, which is for high performers, right? Who would like to create a life and business of freedom from perfectionism, right? The power of the subconscious mind. Together, we're in there as sunflowers and bloomers, committed to this journey of committing and recommitting to having courage over and over and over again and creating a life and a business from that place. You can do that by going to bloombeyond.com/apply. Apply is a 256 members limit for this collective, this tribe. Monthly cohorts, and there's a waiting list to join, so make sure to apply right now to get on that, and we might contact you and invite you in if we believe that we're a great fit. It's also free, so you're more than welcome to apply. And as always, just tap into your courage, right? The gifts of imperfection. And stay bright, brave, and balanced.